morning, good day, Shabbat Shalom, buenos dias, ni hao. We are here for the graduation reading of the University of Arizona MFA program's 50th graduating class. The class of 2023. Welcome family, friends, colleagues, students, community members here in Tucson and via live stream. Somewhere there's a camera. I'm Kate Bernheimer, current MFA program director, and I'd like to acknowledge and thank especially the two faculty members here today who also served in the role of program director during our graduating cohort's academic journey, Professors Susan Briante and Professor Manuel Munoz. Manuel, back there. Thank you to the Poetry Center, especially Paula, Tyler, Sarah, and Bruno for your support of this event. Today's ceremonial has been planned in collaboration with our department's graduate program coordinator, Stephanie Mao, who's also today's bagel maven, so please stay for bagels and coffee after the reading. Event design from soup to nuts and emceeing are care of Leah Mensch and Cameron Carr. First year MFA students, though as soon as this reading ends, I think we can safely call you second year MFA students in creative nonfiction. Cameron Carr is a writer from Ohio. His work recently published or forthcoming in the Missouri Review, March Exness, and the Smart Set. He's currently working on an essay collection about amateurism, failure, and love in the arts and everyday life. Leah Mensch is from Pittsburgh. Their work appears in Guernica and other places, and they're at work on an experimental biography about the late poet Kate Braverman, Artists' Archives, and the marriage between gender and landscape. They are also currently a finalist for a nonfiction prize, I'm editorializing here, that they aren't supposed to tell anyone yet. No, you want me to say it? Oh, the North American Review's Nonfiction Prize, but they weren't supposed to tell anyone. So now you know, and the internet knows too. I think that actually that's a nice metaphor. I think maybe we're all finalists for prizes we're not supposed to tell anyone, always. The prize today is being here, of course. Just for a pause, I'd like to dedicate this reading to someone very important to our MFA program who cannot be with us today. Aurélie Sheehan is a longtime University of Arizona professor of creative writing, a mentor and an inspiration, an author, the truest of friends. Aurélie Sheehan, you are a brocha, a blessing, and we dedicate this reading to you. Cameron, Leah, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leah, obviously. This is Cameron. I'm so glad to be here today, and I think I can speak for everyone in saying that we're so glad to be here, and we're so glad to celebrate our graduating MFA friends and amazing writers and people. So thank you. And I am allowed to say that I love everyone here, and I do. So,
yeah, it's an honor to be here celebrating the accomplishments of all the third years. We came in as first years into this program. There's a gap right now in between, but it really is a small and therefore intimate program. There's only 17 of us students currently in the program. Sadly, there will be 9 of us, but a new set coming in after today. So in the last 8 months or so, we got to know them all in what is, we understand, to be an exhilarating and exhausting year as they finish up their theses and move towards that landmark, as well as thinking about future books, publications, and careers. But one of the other great things about getting to know them has been sharing so much beyond that. I know my first day here, one of our graduating students, Tyler, pointed me to some of the best pizza in Tucson at Time Market, which is a staple of the MFA experience here. DeRay has shared with me fennel seeds and definitely gossip as well. Moises taught me what a pizookie is. I think he taught a lot of us. If you're curious, it's a pizza-sized cookie, $5 Tuesday nights at BJ's. But between all of that food and other fun things that we did get to share, they obviously got in a lot of writing. And today you'll get to hear each of our graduating third years reading a little bit of the work that they've completed in their time here with the University of Arizona Creative Writing Program.
But before that, we would like to introduce Fareed Matuk, who is going to say a few words about some of our graduating class as a whole. Fareed, I forgot to mention, is a professor here. Fareed Matuk, known as of now as Queen Side Spice, is the author of the poetry collection This Is a Nice Neighborhood and The Real Horse, the book arts project Golden made in collaboration with Nancy Friedman Sanchez, was also published in 2022 and earned the Anna Ravenwitz Award from the Poetry Society of America. So without further ado,
each year, the graduating class invites a faculty person to offer some remarks. So I'm incredibly grateful that the graduating class entrusted me in that role today. This is a celebration, but also, as you already know, stakes is high, as De La Soul said. There is a story that scholars of the Bible tell about distance. At one time, the heavens were many and they were near. Think of concentric circles beginning terrifyingly close to our heads and expanding outward, though only a little bit onto the highest throne of God. Each circle was a hangout for its cadre of the divine. Demons here, angels there. But everything near, such that you never knew if around the next corner you'd find a burning bush or a messenger of unwelcomed or at least awfully inconvenient news. And you never knew who, if you looked up, you might offend. At some point after the death and resurrection of the Christ, the heavens seemed to expand. Maybe with the Christ serving as the ultimate intermediary, God could finally retreat to some unimaginable and so unapproachable distance. Of course, we wise and cultured and enlightened and radical and decolonized thinkers and artists know that the Abrahamic heavens, whether near or far, are not the only heavens. And we are right. But are we ready to bring the bravado of such radical relativism a little closer to home? Are we ready to bring a new heaven down onto our writing desk? Are you feeling lucky today? Now in 2023, with our MFAs in hand, what are our chances? What chance do we stand? The poet C.A. Conrad talks about the number 7, that numeral elevated by gamblers who court fortune. And C.A. says, look at its shape. It's one long stroke up and out into the far distance, and then it's another stroke back. It's a boomerang. It's an arrow shot out at such an arc that it's meant to double back. An arrow with a string on it, threading near and far back onto each other. What does any of this have to do with writing? We are supposed to be book people. We are an educational program of the book, requiring you to complete a book-length manuscript to join the ceremony today. Books are cool, as far as they go. Books can be a precious archives, and the libraries such as the one we face from this podium preserve our access to imaginations, some of which were marginalized in their time. Books are also portals allowing each reader to enter deeply private entanglements with language, feeling, intelligence, and imagination. But my favorite authors make books that point beyond books. They point, as a Peruvian poet, Tilsa Ota, has said, to the fact that life and poetry have a relation so intimate that neither the academy, nor the canon, nor literary traditions can regulate its terms and conditions. The book is not the horizon, even in prose. For who among us has not been so simultaneously struck and held by a sentence, whether from an essay or a novel or short story, and needed to lift it into the air around us, walking around our apartment or bedroom saying this thing aloud at least a few times until we make ourselves so light as to be wholly carried by the power of its conveyance. There is a model for what the self is that imagines the body as only a nucleus for an electromagnetic cloud that extends about 6 feet out, like a near heaven of concentric circles. The outermost circles contain our earliest memories and the traumas we experienced, while the electromagnetic energy nearest our body reacts to current stimuli. It sounds woo-woo, but don't we teach words work exactly like that? They present as their denotative nucleus, clearly discernible, easily trafficked from one righteous claim to another. But we also know each word carries its little cloud of connotative inflections, and those extend out further back in time where their etymological histories trail. And its still further concentric circles around each word is its sonic quality, shaping the width and push and pull momentum of air as it travels from and to and back, threading the distant back into the near, cast out like the number 7, only to double back into your body. Maybe words are a way to fold into proximities that, despite stories to the contrary, routinely overwhelm the body's hale stand against supposedly empty space, with all the potential for plunder that emptiness implies. Let it imply. Atoms already attest to the unaccountable means by which they touch across entangled distances, which is to say, across time. That transiting leaves space replete with traces of language, materials, memories, viruses, and ghosts. Their rage and love. It's not art, only sensate living to be fibers in that fabric. But hearing and saying at the double edge of body and breath can be one technology for working with while remaining of that dense weave, pleading and slacking and pleading again by the shapes of a poem's measure. The materials need not be our friends. They are free to intend our plunder back into us by the ply. And if there's relief, it comes from not standing apart. Well, that's one cosmology, at least. My point is not to sermonize about it, but to invite you, graduates, to consider your own alternative model of the Abrahamic heavens. I need you desperately to reinvent heaven and earth, body and breath. The heaven of your book, encircled by the heaven of your literary career, encircled by the heaven of your literary celebrity, encircled by the heaven of your literary legacy, cannot be enough, are not enough, predicated as they are on the model of your singular atomized genius. It's not that your work doesn't deserve celebration, it most certainly does. It's that your work may not be yours alone. I'm sorry, but to believe in nothing but that singular self leaves us in the same cosmology that would see a body like Jordan Neely's approaching on a New York City subway, desperate, testifying to the exhaustion of living through various systems of power and extraction, as nothing but a threat to be subdued by a chokehold. Bodies truly distinct from one another, with nothing but empty space between them, are bodies at war. In an interview, the poet Alice Notley said, after a couple of people dear to me died in the 80s, I read a lot of books by Marcia Eliade that asserted that one response of indigenous peoples to crisis was to recite creation stories to sing the world into being once more. But each time, always being the first time. I think I speak for my colleagues when I say that amidst various ongoing crises in which we are each differently implicated, it has been awe-inspiring to be present, let alone to help facilitate, at least a little bit, the first time a trauma shrinks enough to fit inside your words, the first time one of your characters or an idea in one of your texts started to talk back, to lead its author by the hand, to sing the world into being for the first time again, to bring a new heaven down onto your writing desks, may ask us to reimagine not only our words and our stories, but the cultures and institutions and practices that build up around them. What would it mean to shift writing pedagogy away from publication and toward personal and collective healing? Will you, as you go forward, imagine new social habits, new ways of gathering around the words you shuffle and trade? Will your reading series be part of a soup kitchen? Will your next publication tell the story of your street and reach only as far as your neighbors? Nothing normative is stable, certainly not what a person is, and much less what your art is, or the shape of the heaven that would receive it. Notley again said, "Our words are what is, they say what we make, they don't stand for the universe. What you see as much stands for them." As you leave this program sharing in a collective and fabulous talent, please don't believe in the rhetoric that would diminish the scope of your work to the finite contour of your fame. Please don't accept the old horizons that literary institutions help to normalize. Please help us sing the world into being once more. Please help us to end the war. Thank you.
Fareed, thank you so much. Now I would like to start introducing the fabulous writers who are going to read today. So first up, we have DeRay Ahmed. DeRay is the other poet from the class of 2023. They're an immigrant Muslim writer from Pakistan. Their poetry has appeared in Guernica, Anomaly, Black Warrior Review, and Berkeley Poetry Review, among other journals. DeRay is a 2023 Field Studies Fellow and the winner of the 2023 Monique Wittig Scholarship. However, they still don't have a driver's license. If you're driving somewhere fun after this, DeRay needs a ride.
Thank you. I'm gonna start reading poems. Soft image. Say the word fuck at the brunch. La ilaha illallah in the car on the tasbih. Bismillah while I help my mother-in-law put her elbows in her shirt sleeves. Or the word fuck. Or, oh, I loved the show with the magic man with the nice butt, with some criticism of the second season. Say, these are the bomb about pastries or donuts, but don't say it on airplanes. Don't say Allah, say the law of the land. Say something about vibrators and plastic cocks. MashaAllah, your child is talking now. Or this is what Allah likes when we set the table for all the guests full of meat, fragrant rice. Say, this is how our country felt, buoyed by the word fuck. They're cool, I want people to say, to use my American gender for my body rescued by polio vaccines funded by Bill Gates. Say, polio vaccines funded by Bill Gates. For the normal that you discovered is third world. Say, Arooj Aftab at the Grammys. Say, my mother is intelligent. Say, my father is a feminist. Say, soft image. Don't drop bombs on them. us, me. Say, I borrowed this form from a poet who borrowed it from the Quran, and I wish I'd borrowed it from the Quran. I wish I hadn't added a fifth say or the word fuck. I wish I still had the pale, glowing reverence. Praise Allah, the source of all my creativity. I wish I was soft, soft, soft for the image. I still have English. Flowers, sunlight, gloat, gossamer, ghost, guild, goddess, gloam, a sibilant sorrow, tender joy, blackened sweetness, burnt muffins, bangles, rings, anklets, ringlets, eyes, fingers, necklaces, rings, and desperately nails. No, I will never master the confessional. Call me by any name as long as it's in your language and wants me badly. All of silk tongue, lace mask, and appropriative pleasers, courtesan henna, gold jewelry, drinking from a serpent's tits, yellow moon in waning daylight. After fucking, Google lyric. Pseudocopulation. At some point, I stopped letting people tell me things, lost my weak God to weed, then lost my shaky secularism to the aesthetic, a 16-hour fast, a velvet prayer rug, a printed silk Quran cover. It started with the cross sections of flowers I was shown. Even then, fifth grader, naive, I knew shame. But it was the sweet, scented necessity, perfunctory decoration, natural purpose, fertility that threatened me. I resolve now to also stop watching the Kardashians. This last poem is called Ars Poetica. I starched and ironed my white cotton shirt to teach in it and demand respect. I want to say, good morning. The pleasure of kink is in perpetrating harm, and the affectation of care when you choose not to harm. The power to extend care is a form of harm. I am in power, but to dominate is to seek praise. My leather loafers are kinky too, burning a blister in the back of my heel. I wish I could ask them to look at it if they want, but there is no way to ask. Blood on flat, fresh, round scab. I wish I could tell them I dream of a glittery bar, the kind with heavy curtains and live jazz. I order fresh oysters, send an oyster back for some sauce issue, and say I'm sorry to my friends at the table who had to see me so ugly sending a plate back. I tell them that oysters are all mouth, no brain. I take out my phone and send them links to oyster poems. This has not happened yet. Kink is about acceptance. I don't open jars because that's my kinky role to play. I was told masturbation is an ugly word, and post-nut clarity is a term too masculine and bro-like to use in my poems. I pout about my silly femininity and how it can't traffic in nut or clarity. I was also told that I have a masculine aura, and I basked in the compliment, then realized it's only because I often say I love boobs. And why do I think it's a compliment? I'm a misogynist. At the very least, kink doesn't remind me of discipline or colonialism. My leather loafers stain with blood. Where are the shoes I got you? My husband asked me when I wore my teaching outfit with sneakers. Are they uncomfortable? In the closet, I responded. Before I realized, he said, the shoes I got you. Does he look at the bananas on the kitchen counter and think, the fruit I got her? Do they taste bad? I think that's his kinky role to play. So I got the shoes he got me and stepped into them. Thank you.
That was awesome. DeRay, your poems make me want to say fuck. Our next reader, though, will be Aiden Avery, a nonfiction writer. Aiden Avery is a photographer and nonfiction writer. Over the last 3 years, he spent more time in the darkroom than he did in the English department. He'll be reading to us from what he's been working on as well now. Aiden Avery, everyone.
Before I start, I just want to say thanks to everyone for coming. These moments where we can be together and celebrate each other are so rare and they're so special, and it means a lot that all of you are here today. So thanks. I'm going to read from my thesis, which is about Kodachrome film, and I'm going to read 2 single-page excerpts that are in the chapter, which is about developing a relationship with these small little Kodachrome slides that maybe you can't see from the back, but okay. Once I start buying Kodachrome slides from eBay, it's hard to stop. Do I want a photo of a shirtless man in jean shorts and aviator sunglasses holding a 3-paneled mirror and tanning alone on the beach? I do. How about a candid shot of a pedestrian looking back over his shoulder at a car crashing through a storefront window? Yeah, I want that. Part of my compulsion to buy stems from the joy of unearthing moments that have been crystallized in Kodachrome, the unfamiliar cars, the historical fashion, and the sheer candidness of the scenes. But another part of the compulsion stems from the physicality of the slides themselves. These slides are an interaction to have. They're tangible. The cardboard mount fits well between my index finger and my thumb. And outside the glossy film, the mount surface is smooth and its edges are corrugated. I like to hold my slides up to the window to backlight their contents, and when I illuminate them like this, these Kodachromes seem even more real, even more Kodachrome-esque than any image printed in a book. But even holding a Kodachrome in hand is different from the ultimate Kodachrome experience that Kodak intended. A 1954 print ad promises me that home projection of my color slides will make my Kodachrome images breathtakingly beautiful. Oh right, projection is what Kodak chemists specifically invented Kodachrome for. It's the whole point of the slide transparency. And yet, in all my searching and researching, I've never once loaded a slide into a projector, which is to say, I haven't really experienced what Kodachrome is all about. And that's an oversight I need to remedy. And then a little bit later in the chapter. What is this feeling? I'm alone in my studio with the lights off, standing next to my ectographic slide projector. This is the first time I've let the projector rip, and the machine's fan whirs loudly. It's so dark in here that I can't make out the doorknob on the door I closed behind me on my way in. The projector offers the only light, which beams through the lens just past my shoulder and fills the opposite wall with a forgotten, candid family photo. I've seen a digital scan of this slide countless times, but now on the wall, the image feels very alive. I mean, not alive, but like there's new life to it. The shadows grow long and recede into the scene. The people are sharper and more tangible. They feel present. There's depth and even three-dimensionality to this scene now. I remember that Kodachrome images actually are three-dimensional, since the tricolor dyes, the red, yellow, and blue, live on 3 different layers of film. And if you hold a Kodachrome slide up to the light just right, you can see that the image surface isn't flat, but the edges are raised and lowered according to the subject's colors. I imagine this helps induce the effect I'm seeing on the wall, and it's arresting, really, to look at an image like this for the first time. Part of what I'm feeling surely has to do with this presentation. How often do we experience non-digital home projection anymore? The movie theater's grandiosity, but the home's intimacy. I curate the images, I slide them out of my binder and place them in the projector, and this one is a family snapshot after all. What could be more personal and intimate than that? I stare at the image a while longer. This experience is intense, more so than I expected, and so much so that I have to turn the projector off to collect my thoughts for a minute. But once I do, and I feel myself calm again, I take the carousel off my ectographic and load up the rest of the slides I've collected. I can't help it. Lights off, here we go. Click. Thanks.
Thanks, Aiden. Can't wait to read your book and look at your photos. Aiden's an amazing photographer, too. Next up is Moises Delgado. He loves all board games except Monopoly.
I'm kind of soft-spoken. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. So for some context, yes, I love board games. So my thesis is a memoir, but also a board game about anxiety in which you roll dice to decide your fate. So it's a blending of nonfiction and fiction, and the board game wants you to believe, but also not believe everything. Anyway, it's a game. So to decide what I read, I was hoping you all please be nice to me and give me a number from 1 to 12. I think I heard 12. Oh, last time I ignored your number. I had a pass rating. I'll read what you want this time. Okay. 12. So this is an event. So half the board game is broken up into events. There is a scenario, and then you roll dice to see what happens. So yeah. So this is called event, grocery shopping. Put your food list together. Roll a d12. If you roll a 12, your list is red onions, cilantro, garlic, green bell peppers, lettuce, tomatoes, potatoes, avocados, baby carrots, broccoli, spinach, squash, corn, peaches, pears, plums, pineapple, tangerines, bananas, watermelon, green apples, green grapes, strawberries, blueberries, cherries, cucumbers, limes. Your belly is happy. If you roll an 11, in the tortilla aisle, you think you see a ghost, the same one you've seen before, a woman with curly hair just like your mom's. You want to call her abuela, but you don't. There is no one there, but you wish there were. You wish you could call your mom and tell her that you saw your abuela at Walmart. She was buying tortillas, you'd say, and she was smiling. She said your abuela was waiting in the car. They are staying a night in Tucson and were wanting to have tortillas, just tortillas. The hotel they are staying in has a microwave. They're going to heat up the tortillas, your abuela said, and they have salt and limes in one of their suitcases, and they have crema in a cooler too. She said since your mom hasn't been answering her calls all these years, she and your abuelo decided it was time to drive up to Nebraska. They had no problem crossing the border. It was a smooth sail through the border. Tell your mom, she said, to not worry anymore. But there's no one there. You haven't been sleeping well as usual. You don't buy any tortillas. You'll know you'll eat 1 or 2 and throw away the rest when they expire. If you roll a 6 through 10, this is your list. Oreos, Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, Cocoa Puffs, Chips Ahoy, Mini Nilla wafers, Danish butter cookies, oatmeal cream pies, cake mix, brownie mix, chocolate milk, cherry Kool-Aid, grape Kool-Aid, Capri Sun, Sunny D, hot Cheetos, Limon Lays, Doritos, Takis, Ruffles, peanut M&Ms, Skittles, Kinder Joy eggs, Hershey bars, Twix. Your belly is happy, but your body's probably fucked up. If you roll a 2 through 5, as you are checking out, the Walmart employee says that they've been keeping an eye on you. You always buy the same 5 things. Is that all you know how to cook? They have a portrait of you in the break room and a whiteboard next to it. They bet on vegetables. The other day, X won big when you, for the first time, took not 1, but 2 onions home. Did you eat them? I am betting on you having eaten 1.5, she says. Am I right? There's $100 on the line. And the other day, Y won for guessing down to the second how long you spent in the cookie aisle, a whole 6 minutes and 28 seconds. She's not supposed to talk to you, she says, but she couldn't help herself. She loved to have your autograph, and she would love to take your blood pressure and your weight if possible. It would be quick, and while you're at it, she would love to hear why you make the food choices you make. Her food theory is that you are hyper allergic to everything, especially green things, and that is why you avoid vegetables. All those green skins, green stems, green leaves, your body would shut down, wouldn't it? Actually, don't tell me, she says. The majority theorize that you are a bad cook. Some theorize that you're a picky eater. A few theorize that you don't love yourself, but I mean, she says, no way you don't love yourself. The way you pack your cart with seats tells me that you do love yourself. Every sweet is a little love letter, isn't it? And then there's the one guy who thinks you only shop for the devil below your bed at this Walmart. He claims he's heard from a friend that when you shop at the Walmart up north, your cart is better balanced, is greener. But that guy is insane, honestly. If anyone has any devils, it's him. But anyway, 3 packs of Oreos today, I see. That means I've won today. I'm betting on you buying more cookies. I keep telling everyone that your eyes say it all. You want more sweets in your cart. Eventually that temptation in your heart is bound to burst. If you roll a 1, your list is sugar and water. Your stomach hurts. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm always hungry after Moises reads.
Thanks, Nick. I think I believe in the ghost, but I might have to read your whole book first. Jeremy Hensley is poet laureate of eating rotisserie chicken with their bare hands over the kitchen sink at 3 a.m. and laughing at their partner's hilarious comedy bits. They are excited to have dental and vision insurance again someday.
Okay, I didn't time this, so I'm gonna turn on a timer right now on my phone, and I'm just gonna stop whenever it happens. If you look under your seats, there's a mirror placed underneath with a poem. There's more up front, so some of you might not have them. Share with your neighbors if you can. I only have 60, so I'm running on a grad student's budget, and I'm technically unemployed right now. So, but just do as I do when I call out the number that you'll be doing, because I'll be also joining you in this gesture. Dearly beloved, a prefatory quadraphonics. The plasticity of knowledge is why I'm still here. Cy Jones, but I run past what I thought was the end of myself, i.e., loogied over the borderline, the pinto of being spit out lacquers me. How else to exit a mouth? Saying what exactly? After imperialism splits lives like chaff and seed, we must leave our mothers. When belonging turns out to be longing, all joy goes hollow, and a dry laughter lives in a far-off memory bound by sound and threaded into living time. I forgot, I brought my mom as an audience member. 2. The plasticity of knowledge is why I'm still here. Audre Lorde, some days, if bitterness were a whetstone, could be sharp as grief. That's like, my hands are really shaking right now. I.e., in lyric, I can extend sound, tighten its strings to shift its music sharp. When truth snaps in two, it gives a sound it can yield only once. How it can sound like a laugh, the last laugh before I pass the edge of myself. In healing, I pretend my pain belongs to only me, as if sorrow doesn't nation us each, as if floral decay and weeping weren't all we speak. To make laughter my mother tongue and live in its beauty. Mercy, let beauty be enough. 3. The plasticity of knowledge is why I'm still here. Zemnis, I'm what's left, or maybe I'm all there ever was. I.e., for the jacket with loops on its arms, I bought a Filipino flag patch, planted it, then flaunted it to Ma. When asked what should go underneath, she smiled and said, the American flag. The Philippine Republic grants citizenship jus sanguinis, blood or dirt, says we are people, but who says mercy, then slips it between our shut eyes. Mortar to mend, mortar to bombard, mortar, what withstands the crushing pestle? 4. The plasticity of knowledge is why I'm still here. Emil Chiran. It is no nation we inhabit, but a language. Make no mistake,
our native tongue is our true fatherland, i.e., before I was myself, a nation claimed my possibility jus soli. But first, I belong to the relieved laughter I was born to fall into a mouth. Mother tongue, motherland, to mix music, muscle, myth, mind, matter, to mess meaning, to maze mirroring, to map meat, to migrate movement, to mercy my mystery, master misery, mother myself with miracle and memorial. It is no bitterness we inhabit, but a past. What's left, sharp as grief, is our true fatherland. I run past all there ever was. Make no mistake, our native tongue was the end of bitterness. If language were all there ever was, I run past no nation, but a grief we inhabit, a whetstone, or maybe the end of fatherland. I could be what's left. The end of myself. It is no nation, but a sharp was. I wanted to know how the world was created, so I broke a mirror inside my mother. I am a mother's death wearing her child's skin. I am a mother's death wearing her child's skin. I am mother's skin. I am mother death wearing child's skin. I am death wearing skin. The sun doesn't persist, it's just like us, does what it does till it can't any longer. I'm sorry, the most Filipino meal to me is KFC extra crispy, broken over swords of garlic fried rice, then irrigated with a mixture of spiced vinegar and fish sauce. I won't even tempt a sound from my ma's homeland to try and prove I can pronounce them through the jutted doors of my lips. I am so song, you could call me warbling. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, that one just keeps going. Our next reader will be Sarah McKinney. At 3:03 a.m. on June 1st, 2016, Sarah McKinney entered a mire in North Kalamazoo that was allegedly open. Inside, nothing was where it should have been. Most of the shelves were empty, and all of the checkout lanes were abandoned. After purchasing her groceries at self-checkout and leaving the parking lot at 3:33 a.m., Sarah discovered that the North Kalamazoo mire had ceased to appear on all GPS systems. Upon further investigation, the location of the North Kalamazoo mire was, and always had been, a pet supply store called Marvin's Snakes and More. If you have any information regarding the existence or non-existence of the North Kalamazoo mire, please contact Sarah via Twitter at Miowski2. She is afraid something has gone terribly wrong. And a brief content warning, her reading will include some reference to eating disorders. But I give you Sarah McKinney.
Nothing reminds me that I'm short quite like microphones. Okay. So I'm going to be reading an excerpt from my thesis, which is a novel about vampires, eating disorder, and late-stage capitalism. Relationships are always somewhat intangible, irreplicable, contained within their own intricate polyphony, the contrapuntal swelling and diminishing that yields something richer and deeper than the sum of parts. Even now, my life was cluttered with her. Notebooks filled with her cramped handwriting, recipe books with the margins filled by threads of bickering commentary, deletions, insertions, scribbled revisions, pens with anxious bite marks crawling up the barrels, an entire cabinet full of scented lotions and soaps, skincare products that sounded vaguely clinical, retinol, hyaluronic acid. I found her waiting for me on the spice rack and in the tasseled throw pillows. But it was more than this, too, because I also found her with one of my shirts, torn off in some after-work frenzy and pushed down between the couch cushions. She was in my aftershave, a birthday present, in my dress shoes, Christmas, in the mannerisms I'd picked up without realizing it, a tilt of the head when I listened, a little snort when I laughed. She was in the way I talked, the way I slept, the way I dressed, the friends I had, the books I read, the way I played even, the cadence of her voice captured imperfectly in endless mordants and trills. She was in every frustrated shower masturbation session. Every meal I tried to cook, everything I tried to eat or say or feel was her, and so I stopped, drew back, shriveled up, tried to precipitate myself out of whatever solution we had formed together and reclaim something, some part that was myself, alone and untouched. But in the immediate aftermath, it was food, booze. All the nights I came back to my now once our apartment, only to forget myself, call out her name and hear the silence answer. There was nothing I could do but curl up on the couch with a bottle of Jack and a family-sized pan of lasagna. Or worse, the nights spent in southern cities, Phoenix, Reno, Dallas, Orlando, fleeing grief like a bird fleeing winter. Nights that seemed at first better, where, under the spotlight, I escaped temporarily, lost in scherzos, mazurkas, rondos, caprices. My soul dissipated into the sonorous dark. But when the house lights came up and the applause ended, I was back in my hotel room with pizza and beer and broken-neck shadows that dangled from ceiling fans and coat hooks until the alcohol finally drowned them. There's a German word, Kummerspeck, grief bacon, the weight gained from emotional eating. Did it occur to me that this might be my body's defense against loss, a way to insulate against the nights I used to spend with someone else? A layer of padding for the mornings when I would wake up to find her side of the bed cold and heartbreak pulled me into the ring to box a few rounds before my eyes were fully open. Nope. You're supposed to be strong, push through the pain and manage the grief where no one else can see it. Me, I grew bitch tits. You think at first it doesn't matter how you look in this industry. You think it mattered for Stravinsky, for Dvorak. That guy looked like a fucking turnip. It's supposed to be about the music and the music only, but then you get into it and suddenly it's album covers, market metrics, comment sections. My God, he's really let himself go, hasn't he? From some random woman in Nebraska. Thank you, Karen Schweitzer. Your own bloated face staring back at you from billboards 50 feet high and larger than life, and not in a good way either. And maybe this is when would have been tolerable, except they stuck you next to the Iron Gym guy, the Iron Gym ad where the guy's abs have abs and your agent on the phone telling you get it under control and your brother saying you might feel better a few pounds lighter, and the performance contracts drying up, the rent due at the end of the month, and that one thought constant, deafening, was it my fault that she... And then the drunk cellist friend who summed it up all so nicely when we ran into each other at a dive bar and he poked me in the stomach, oink, oink. I decked him. The next morning, I bought a scale, poured my liquor cabinet down the kitchen sink. It wasn't a diet. Women diet. Men get ripped, get cut, get torn to fucking shreds. I wasn't skipping meals. I was intermittent fasting. I didn't cut carbs. I enjoyed the benefits of ketosis. When the weight came off, people took notice, women especially. And then it was good job, keep going. Here's my number. Don't you feel so much better? You look so much better. Friends and family, but also music fans, hiring managers, critics, conductors, people who booked shows, bought albums, bought tickets, made fan pages, gushed praise, followed and hit like for more content and stupefying numbers, and I became not a person but a silhouette, a style, skinny in a black suit, white keys, sarcastic delivery, all perfectly packaged, perfectly numb, perfectly empty. By the time the compliments dried up and friends started pulling me aside to ask in hushed voices, is everything okay? You look sick. The Andy they knew or thought they knew was gone. Instead, a new self, built from emptiness and silence, hunger and self-possession. A self who played worse, but sold better because sunken eyes and cheekbones look good on a musician. A self only 5, 10, 15 pounds away from transcending. She wouldn't even recognize me.
Thanks, Sarah. Oh, there you are. I couldn't find you. Drew Crew for life. Next, we have Tyler Sawa. Tyler is a fiction writer and occasional poet, originally from Portland, Oregon. Some of his work can be found in Salt Hill Journal, Electric Literature, and Gaze Journal. He's moving to Seattle, Washington at the end of this month. If anyone has any job leads or job needs, LOL.
Ooh. I'm going to read a scene from a novel that follows a volunteer party in which my protagonist has ended up with a couple of very heteromasculine men in a strip club, a place he would not normally be. Christian has glimpsed into and been in such close proximity to so many assholes lately. And the men beside him look like they've never seen one before. He tries to focus instead on the way the dancer moves, how she controls her body. He thinks back to the time he'd gone into Stars to use the restroom years ago, bumping up against the man who was obviously masturbating over the toilet. The whole environment was such an attack to the senses, he'd felt on the verge of passing out, down onto the soiled bathroom floor. So consumed in his own pleasure, the man didn't even notice him. When Christian returned to their table at the tiny taqueria, Isabel bunched her face at him as he stared down at his place of enchiladas, like he'd never seen such a food before. Their gooey insides weren't all that different from his own. The woman on stage that night wore stilettos and nothing else. She clung to the pole like it was a rifle she could pick up and shoot down anyone who made a wrong move. It only took one glance to see that she was in control of the room, and something about it threatened to flip Christian's understanding of the whole world upside down. After that, he drank 2 margaritas in an unconscious attempt to leave his body while Isabel sat there, asking what was wrong, his irritation growing as he repeated, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." The magic words didn't always work. Isabel could see right through him. "Hell yeah," shouts one of the bowlers, thrusting a $2 bill up towards the dancer. Her lips curl up, but it doesn't look exactly like a smile, not to Christian. While her expression should suggest disinterest, she looks lost in her body, in the movements of it, and the bowler is interrupting. Still, she gets down onto her knees and rakes her hands through her hair, offering him the band of her tights. A radiant but disturbing boyishness seems to overcome the bowler. He bites into his bottom lip and tucks the money into the dancer's tights. He does so with such gentle timidity, with his arm shaking. Or maybe it's just Christian's vision, his world rumbling at a different frequency that shakes everything around him. For a few seconds, the bowler looks up at the dancer as if she's an angel, like the bright lights above the stage gleaming in his eyes. Christian remembers seeing angels in America at Portland Center Stage with Ben. An image of an angel floating above Pryor's sickbed comes to mind. Jealous of humanity for distracting God from the other angels, urging humans to stop, to quit, to give up, the divine call to surrender. Ben and him were 20, suited up as if they were going to a wedding. As they walked inside, Ben took Christian's hand and said, "Look at us, husband and husband." Then they watched the AIDS crisis tear apart every character on stage, their love suffused with illness. The bald bowler seems ready to give it all up now, his face slack and peaceful, but then the dancer returns to the pole and his human form returns. He looks back at the table and batter-rams his tongue against the inside of his cheek, miming a blowjob. The other bowler laughs and high-fives with the man. He seems to forget to high-five with Christian. "Look, that's my money," the bowler says, pointing to the flaccid bill that hangs from her waist like a towel on a clothesline. The dancer hoists her whole body up the bowl, engaging every muscle in her core. Christian remembers the voice in the crowd at Stag, the one that said he should be up there, and he realizes it's actually him who's become transfixed. Truly transfixed. These other guys don't belong here. Watching her dance, he feels overcome with an urge to dance himself. He hasn't felt this urge since Ben left. Not really. He wants to mimic her, to learn from her. He's always felt like his best self dancing beside Ben when the whole world drops out beneath them and they are held in the gazes of one another and no one else. When he could be only movement instead of a person, just unhindered limbs swaying, bending the air. The bar spins around him, blurring all the hungry-eyed men, the bartender, the bouncer, a few women at a corner table, all of them like a streak of paint in his vision. The molten core of his body feels stable and erect as a pole, and he accepts it. He's collapsing like a dying star, brighter than ever. The fuck is he doing? "Buddy. Hey, buddy. Buddy," the bouncer shouts, grabbing onto Christian's shoulder, stealing his body. The man's head seems to float above his body, out of sorts with the force of his touch, his grip. "You're not a dancer. This is a women's strip joint. You're gonna need to leave." Confused, Christian turns and looks back at the table where he'd been standing only moments ago, as if looking back at his friends, but he sees only strangers. He has no friends. They are only men whose names he doesn't know. The dancer with the lightning hair continues dancing, but everyone else in the club is looking at him, their faces bunched up, some shaking their heads. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyler. This will be our last reader, and for our live streamers at home, we'll be cutting off here. So thank you for joining us so far.
Okay, so this is the part where everyone says encore, except, sorry, that's all for today. You're just going to have to wait until all of these books are on the shelves. And I'm fully confident they will be. I think I can speak for everyone when I say I am grateful for everyone's words, and I will miss everyone who is graduating very dearly. I'll miss being in class with you. I'll miss studying with you. We'll miss hearing your thoughts and ideas, and being in the world and facing the world is hard sometimes, but you all are doing the good stuff and giving us hope. So thank you.
And before we finish, I just want to say again, thank you to Kate Bernheimer, our program director who helped us in intro. Thank you to Fareed Matuk for giving our intro. And of course, thank you to Paula, Bruno, and Tyler, wherever you are in the Poetry Center, everybody involved for letting us be here. And a last bit of housekeeping before the final thank you for our graduating writers and faculty. If you could all meet at this wall directly back, it'd be a great opportunity for photos. So we'll just see what happens over there. For everyone else, I think we have some bagels over to the right when we leave. I can't actually see from in here, but that's my expectation that you'll find them there along with some coffee. So please stay. Tell the writers if you enjoyed their work. Tell John if you have edits for him, anything else of that nature. And lastly, I just want to, again, like Leah said, thank our writers for all the hard work they've put in over the last 3 years and for sharing it with us today.